Oh. Okay. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be telling you about some books that I read in 2025, some books that I DNF'd, wait, not 2025, 2024. Some books that I read in 2024 and some books that I DNF'd in 2024. And then I'm going to tell you about some 2025 hopefuls that I want to get into this year. Whether that's series, whether that's fantasy, because I do want to read some fantasy this year, or whether that's just more Stephen King novels, because I'm on a kick right now. One of the things that I want to talk about at the beginning of all my videos now is what books I'm currently reading, so you guys can get an idea of where I'm at, what I'm reading, what's really sparking my interest right now, and what kind of mood I'm in. So the book that I'm currently reading right now is A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. I am absolutely loving this novel. I'm about halfway through. I started 2 days ago and it's really picked up since the beginning, and I just love all the foreshadowing and all the like world building, and everything is just magnificent. I'm having a great time with it. So we're first going to start with the two books that I DNF'd here in 2024. It was only two, I think, or at least that's what I put on my Goodreads. It probably was more, but I just didn't document them. The first book that I DNF'd in 2024 was Gray Huffington's Luca. I tried to read this book. I really did. There was just something about the writing that just didn't sit with me. Also, I didn't like the male protagonist. I thought he was super aggressive, and you know, some people, that's their thing. It's not particularly my thing. I don't like to read it. And yeah, I didn't like the writing, so I didn't finish it. The next book that I DNF'd is Adelaide by Genevieve Wheeler. This book was hard for me to put down in the sense that I wanted to like it so bad. This book is basically about this girl who is in kind of like, to me, like a situationship with this guy that she really likes, and he just goes back and forth with his everything. He doesn't know how to be in a relationship. I'm sure it probably will explain why, but at some point I just got bored, and I just was like, it's just dragging on. It's like very repetitive, and I understand that in some situations that is the case. I just didn't find it to be a compelling read, so I put it down. But it is one that I might go back to. If you guys have read it and you think it's worth picking back up, let me know down in the comments. So now I'm going to get to the books that I actually finished in 2024. I'm going to start with my favorite author and the two books that I really enjoyed. Not that these are the only two books that I really enjoyed, but they're by the same author, so I'm just going to start there. So the first book is The Winners by Fredrik Backman. I am a huge Fredrik Backman fan. I absolutely love his work. I think his writing is beautiful, it's stunning, it's profound. It's not trying too hard to be something that it's not. It's just writing simply compelling characters, beautiful storytelling. I absolutely love him. So this is the third book in the Beartown series. I read Beartown back in 2023 and finished this one right at the beginning of 2024, so that was exciting. And I read Us Against You, obviously, but this one is the ending to the series, and it is one of my favorites. My favorite of the Beartown series is Us Against You. I don't know, there's just something about that one that really stuck with me. But this one was very sad. I actually cried, and this is the only book I've ever cried about with. And yeah, it was beautiful. The next book that I read by Fredrik Backman this year is Anxious People. I gave this book 5 stars. Oh, and if I didn't say, I gave the winners 5 stars as well. I gave this book 5 stars. Really great book. This is about some people who are held hostage at an open house, and that's all I'm going to tell you about it, because you should definitely read it. It is one of those books that will change your perspective on a lot of things. The next book that I read and really enjoyed and gave 5 stars is A Love Song for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams. I read this book on a whim. I had never read anything by Tia Williams, but I did watch her movie The Perfect Find on Netflix with Gabrielle Union, and absolutely loved it. I watched it on like repeat. So I was like, why not read some of her work? I do have The Perfect Find and I do want to read it, but this was her newer work that came out, I think, in 2024. So I was like, why not read that one? This one is it has a little bit of magical realism in it, and it is kind of historical fiction, kind of not, but the love story is just so beautiful. It's so profound, and I really loved it. It says A Love Song for Ricky. As you can see, I tabbed the heck out of this book. I really enjoyed this book, and yeah, 5 stars. You should read it. Another book that I read this year, and this one is kind of funny to me because I went on kind of like how do I say this? I wanted to read booktubers books and give them a chance and just see what they were about. I've been on BookTube a long time as like a viewer. So I've come across Christine Riccio, Sasha Osberg, and all of those people, Haley in Bookland, and yeah, Emma Books, all those people who were like the OGs of BookTube to me. So I was like, why not read like one of their books and see like what it's about, how it is. So the first book that I picked up from a booktuber is Again But Better by Christine Riccio. Gave this book 1 star. This book was, as you can see, I did tab it, and I have quite a few tabs in here, but most of them are tabs where I was writing comments about not how I didn't like it, but I don't know, like I don't want to be like mean or like just very judgmental, but I just didn't find this book to be written well. That's just my opinion. You know, there are people out there who probably love this book, and good on you, but it just wasn't for me. I didn't like the writing. I thought the writing style was a little bit juvenile for the story that it was trying to tell, and it was just not up my alley, simply. But yeah, the next book that I read and gave 3.5 stars was Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. It wasn't my cup of tea, honestly. I don't read a lot of books with spice in them in general, but this one in particular I found to be very cringe. But the love story, the writing was very simple. It was very easy to get through, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it because it was a really quick read. I read it in like a day. So the next book that I read this year is, at the end of the year actually, was Dinner for Vampires: Life on a Cult TV Show while also in an Actual Cult by Bethany Joy Lenz. Unlike some people who don't rate nonfiction books, which I totally understand why people don't rate nonfiction books, I do, however, rate them, and I gave this one 5 stars. I thought this book was so compelling. It was absolutely heartbreaking and sad and honest and raw, and I just I've thought about this book, and I still think about this book a lot after putting it down. So I give this book 5 stars on Goodreads. I thought it was a really great read. It was very well written, and well, not a great read. That's not what I mean. I mean, like, it was hard to read, but it was also a very compelling read, if that makes sense. I'm not saying what she went through was like good or anything like that. I'm just saying that I enjoyed the book. The next book I read was This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. I gave this book also 3.5 stars, and let me tell you why. A lot of people aren't going to agree with my opinion of this book, and that's okay. I mean, we all have our opinions on everything, and this book in particular was very interesting because I find it to be kind of like a Lifetime movie, and that's not like a dig or anything. I like Lifetime movies. My mom loves Lifetime movies. She watches them all the time, 24/7 when she's not watching the news. And I grew up watching Lifetime movies, so it's not a dig whatsoever. The only thing that I didn't like about this book, and I find that a lot of people love about this book, is that the writing, let me back up, because the writing is great. I love Kennedy Ryan's writing. I read Before I Let Go. I read The Kingmaker. I think it's The Kingmaker. I'm not sure. It was a while ago, but I read that book, and both of them are both great reads, and the writing is beautiful. The only reason I didn't like this book is I felt like it was doing too much. I know a lot of people love the aspect of the self-dating, and I love that too. I think that's very important as someone who is an advocate for taking yourself out on dates and treating yourself and all those things, and learning to love yourself before loving someone else. All the things, like, I thought that was beautifully portrayed here. There was just something about this book that didn't stream 5 stars to me, and that's just what it is. Very, I don't know. Maybe I'll come back to this one. I don't know. But anyway, the next book I read was The Outsider by Stephen King. And as you can see, I tabbed the heck out of this book. One of my favorite quotes, I have like a yellow tab in it. I have a lot of those in my Stephen King books. Like, there's like one specific line in all his books that I absolutely love that I tab. And this one just happened to be at the end of the book, and I think it was a line that Holly Gibney said, because she's in this book, and I absolutely love Holly Gibney. So yeah, we have this book, and The Outsider is about this small town that gets rocked by a murder of a 11-year-old boy, and it kind of goes through like interviews and things like that of the person who they think killed the 11-year-old, and it was such a gruesome murder, very disturbing, and it details, like, it follows the characters as they try to find out what happened. Great book. I gave it 3.75 stars, but I rounded up to 4. It's not my favorite Stephen King book, but it's up there. The next book I read and absolutely loved was Soul Crush by Gabrielle G. This book is about this girl named Abriella, who lives in New York City. She's an artist, and she recently came into some money, a lot of money actually, and she moves into this really nice apartment, and she meets this guy named Kane, who is fighting his own demons as she is fighting her own demons. I love this book. I gave it 4 stars. I think this book is so well written. It's by an indie author. I think that it was very compelling. The depiction of mental health was done really well, in my opinion, and it was just a really good read. Kane is a boxer, and he also is into some other activities as you would say. And they're both fighting these demons from their past and trying to embrace each other in their lives and come together as a couple, as people who love each other, etc., etc. The next book I read was also one I read when I was reading the Booktubers books. It was actually Hank Green's books, an absolutely remarkable thing. I gave this book 5 stars. This really surprised me because this is sci-fi and I don't read sci-fi. This was my first ever sci-fi book and it won't be my last, to say the absolute least. I freaking adored this book. I read it as like a challenge with my partner. I told them that I wanted to read one of their books because it's not my book. It was my partner's book, but now it is my book, and also it's signed, so it's absolutely my book now. And this book, I don't even know how to explain this book. It has a sequel called A Beautiful Foolish Endeavor. I haven't read the sequel yet, but that's also on my list for 2025 that I want to read. But this book is about these calls that show up in the city in New York and just things go awry. Things just get out of control and that's the best I can do for this one. But read it. It's a fantastic book. The next book I read in 2024 was Billy Summers by Stephen King. This is one of my favorite Stephen King books, if not my favorite Stephen King book. This is crime fiction. This isn't even horror, but and we all know Stephen King is known for his horror books, but this one is about a contract killer who takes on his last job before he retires, and this is an unexpected love story as well, but it's also about a man who people think that they know but really they don't know. Yeah, this book was just amazing. I don't know, I thought everything about this book was perfection. As you can see my little yellow tab of my favorite quote. And also the favorite quote is here on the back. It says, "Bad people need to pay a price and the price should be high." I love that quote, and that's why I picked it up originally, because I knew nothing about it.